Imagine discovering that your grandfather wasn't just a mystery man. He was a high-ranking military general in Mexico. He was married, he was powerful, and he was murdered under suspicious circumstances. My client Lisa spent her life wondering who her father's real father was, and the truth we uncovered was bigger, darker, and more dangerous than anyone expected. My name's Tara Crawford. I'm a volunteer search angel here at DNAngels. Lisa came to me with a mystery that had been in her family for almost 100 years. Her father never knew his biological dad. All he had been told was he was from Mexico and he had been killed before her father was born. Her grandmother, born in Mexico City, had moved to New York, where Lisa's father was born in 1923. After that, the topic of his biological father was never really discussed again. No photographs, no documents, just a rumor of a possible last name and a few whispered details. The thing about his last name, though, is it wasn't a Spanish last name. So Lisa wanted me to solve it through DNA, but I knew that once I looked at her matches that the search was not going to be easy. When I pulled up her matches, my heart sank just a little bit because every single match was under 200 centimorgans, which is distant. It can be really distant too. You can't just plug that into a chart and get an immediate answer. I also didn't have very many trees to work with. It was pretty limited. But something stood out. Among the few family trees that I could work with, I noticed that they all descended from a non-Spanish surname. It just kept appearing in all the matches. So I thought that was odd. If this man's from Mexico, why wasn't his name in Spanish? So I continue building out the trees, connecting small pieces, different trees. That's when I found the origin of this unusual non-Spanish surname. It led to a man named William. He was born in Missouri in the mid-1800s. He was a coal miner. He was unmarried well into his 30s. And then all of a sudden, he appears in Sinaloa, Mexico. He ended up marrying a woman. She was much younger than him. Her name's Anna. And together they had 4 children. 2 sons, 2 daughters. I don't have the best matches to work with, but they are all pointing to this couple. I knew Lisa's father was born in 1923, so I did start looking at William's sons. One died in 1902. So too early to be a candidate. The other one was the right age, but then I saw it. He died in 1927, 4 years after Lisa's father had been born. And remember, the story was his father was killed before he was born. So I want to look into this son a little bit more. His name's Guillermo. I dug into his death records, and when you're dealing with records, old records, especially in Mexico, they're all handwritten, they're all in cursive, so you really have to be able to transcribe those. But something really stood out to me about Guillermo's death record. Cause of death was gunshot. And where was the location? Mexico City, which is where Lisa's grandmother had come from. So I was a little hooked here. Who was this man? And why did his life end in violence? So I do a little more digging. I actually find a newspaper article with this man's name in it. It's published in the New York Times. There's also quite a few articles about him in the Mexican newspapers, but what blows my mind is he's in the New York Times. To me, that would have been world news in the 1920s. So the title of this newspaper article basically is Mexican General is Killed. So Guillermo is a major guy of his times in Mexico. And just a little bit of history, in the 1920s, it was pretty politically unstable time in Mexico. The Mexican Revolution had ended only a few years earlier, but the country was still deeply divided. President Calles, he ruled with a heavy hand. He was suppressing rivals and consolidating his power. The region where Guillermo came from, and he did serve as a commander, was a hotspot for rebel activity and political unrest. So for Guillermo and his high-ranking military ties, every move could carry a risk, not just from open enemies, but from political allies who might also turn against him. So Guillermo is the commander of the Mexican federal troops in Tamaulipas. And he may have been assassinated for threatening to expose government officials or elites who were secretly supporting the revolutionary causes. He had made a sudden trip from Tampico to Mexico City to deliver evidence directly to President Calles. Guillermo claimed that these documents would prove that powerful individuals in Mexico City were secretly helping rebels in Tamaulipas, where he had come from. So after Guillermo arrived in Mexico City, he actually spent the evening visiting bars and saloons with friends. And they say around 4 a.m. he was shot by a government secret policeman. But before dying, he goes into a full-on shootout, and Guillermo killed the officer who shot him. So the exact circumstances were never really clarified, but it was implied that his knowledge of some high-level corruption or his ties to the revolutionaries may have made him a target for elimination. So Guillermo was reportedly associated with General Gomez. He was a potential rival to President Calles, who was under suspicion of seeking the presidency. This association may have made Guillermo a political liability, a dangerous man who knew too much. So his killing, as some speculated, might have been politically motivated. But buried in these historical records was also something else. Something the papers did not tell us was Guillermo was married at the time that Lisa's father was born, and he had 2 children with his wife. So if he was the father, if he truly is the father of Lisa's father, then it would mean an affair. So a relationship between a married, high-ranking military leader and a young woman from Mexico City, resulting in a child born in New York, in the 1920s, that wasn't just scandalous. It could have been dangerous. So now the silence, the secrecy is making sense. If the truth had come out, it could have destroyed reputations, careers, and even lives. And with political enemies already hunting Guillermo, perhaps this personal scandal was one more thing that he had to keep protected. After his violent death, maybe the easiest way to protect everyone involved was to erase his name from the story entirely. So DNA doesn't lie. The matches, though distant, all pointed back to the same ancestral couple, William from Missouri and Anna from Mexico. And with only one son alive during the right time frame, all signs led to Guillermo. So for nearly a century, his name lived in history books for a political career, but now they may also belong in Lisa's family tree. Was Guillermo killed because of politics, or was it a part of a larger cover-up? What do you guys think was going on? Some family secrets die with the people who keep them. Others survive in our DNA, waiting for someone brave enough to find them. So if you really liked this story, I enjoy things that are tied to history. Let's just go ahead and drop those red hearts in the comment lines. And remember, you can always reach us at DNAngels.org.